So we came across this masterpiece, a Van Dyck masterpiece advertised for $14,000 on April 11th to the 12th. And here it is for $14,000. You can get a painting by Anthony Van Dyck for $14,000. And Van Dyck is found in museums and in very high-end collections. His paintings go for millions and millions and millions. So here are the things that you should kind of look for when you come across a $14,000 Anthony Van Dyck painting. Things that you should look for. So one of the things is, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So immediately when we saw this, red flags came up. So we took a look at the other pictures, and sure enough, second picture of the piece, it's definitely a Van Dyck. Look at that. There's a plaque on the painting itself that says Van Dyck, and their description is Van Dyck. So we go to the third painting picture, which is of a close-up of the painting, and the description then becomes ornate gilded frame portrait painting with a male figure in Anthony Van Dyck style. 19th century portrait of a gentleman in a ruff. So Anthony Van Dyck lived from March 22nd, 1599 to December 9th, 1641. So where they've got it listed as this is a Van Dyck, farther along in their pictures, all of a sudden it becomes in the Van Dyck style. And there should probably be a slash or a period here. This is a 19th century portrait of a gentleman in ruff. So this is an unknown artist, from what I can deduct, whose painting was put in a frame, and on the frame they put a placard that says Van Dyck on it. So do we get any more? We get a picture of the back. This certainly doesn't look like a painting from the 1600s. Ornate gilded frame portrait painting with male figure. Again, in Anthony Van Dyck style. Red flag comes up. 19th century, another red flag comes up. Portrait of a gentleman in a ruff in the description of it. So there is a solid disconnect between the first picture, which identifies this as a Anthony Van Dyck picture, actual painting, and what the rest of it says. So from at this point, we went on to take a look and do further developing, because you want to, one of the other things that you want to do is, if it sounds too good to be true, red flag. We took a look at this image, and this image does not come up as being an Anthony Van Dyck. We couldn't find it anywhere as a painting by Anthony Van Dyck whatsoever. So another red flag came up there. So we then went to take a look at how else they described the piece. And there was a Facebook posting out here. And here it is on April 9th. So the time of that they described the painting as being an unknown artist. So a couple years ago, they had all these unknown artist sales. On the weekend, you could go and you get a big masterpiece for $250. So that's what the indication is. So now let's take a look at what they say on the Facebook here, so that we can get a better gleam as to, which one it is. Is it an actual, or is it an unknown artist and worth much less than an original Van Dyck? So here we go. Let's play this for a couple seconds.
19th century Van Dyck.
And then there it was there, and I'll repeat it again. 19th century Van Dyck.
I'll keep you posted as to which one online. With that, we come in here where we do have 19th century Van Dyck. Beautiful. And then the Dutch have made it to our table as well.
And then here it is. So it's being described as a 19th century Van Dyck, but he was dead for 200 some odd years. So another red flag goes up after we see this. The way it should be described is in the style of Van Dyck or after Van Dyck or something of that nature. You usually say after Van Dyck if it's a recreation of an original piece by Van Dyck, but this should be properly described as an unknown artist in a frame where somebody put the Van Dyck name at the bottom of it. This is an unknown artist painting here. So another red flag comes up for us. We then go to the Instagram just to see what the timing is. And again, this one here on Facebook posted out there a couple days before the actual sale, which is the 11th and 12th. So they knew, and they knew before this time frame that this was not a Van Dyck. On the Instagram, let's do a quick run here real quick.
Estate Advisors, 1529 West Adams. This is day one. We are almost at a wrap. I am just...
Okay, so this painting on Instagram is, or this reel on Instagram is done after the first day of the sale. So they know that the painting is, or I'm guessing they know that the painting is an unknown artist in the style of Van Dyck, after Van Dyck. So let's hope that they say something as if this is after Van Dyck, this is in the style of Van Dyck, something of that nature, and they don't call it a Van Dyck. So we'll just kind of keep it going here for a little while. And let's see if it's actually even on here. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. I'm wondering if this is an artist recreation too, this poppy painting.
I want someone else to purchase it and send me photographs so that I can live vicariously through you. Okay. Then we have the Van...
And then we have the Van Dyck.
This is also a very stunning piece. We even have this beautiful table and...
So another red flag comes up. And so it obviously didn't sell at the end of their first day. There's a lot of red flags on this. We did not purchase this at all. I think this is not an original Van Dyck. I think they know that it's not an original Van Dyck. I think it's by an unknown painter. But so many red flags. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If there's a lot of inconsistencies between how it's described, there's an issue there. If you're paying $14,000, make sure you do your research. Could not find this image whatsoever as anything that Van Dyck would ever do. Just keep your head out there. Make sure you get the provenance. Evidently, they had some kind of provenance on this piece. And I don't know if this sold for $14,000. I don't know how the sale turned out of this piece. I just hope that it sold with all knowledge being put forward. And no, we did not purchase this. We stayed far away from this. There were just too many red flags for us.